Hello everyone and welcome. So today I want to make a little bit of a special episode, and usually when I'm making these streams I try to teach you something. I try to tell you interesting facts, I try to tell you about all the different mechanics, but I never really go in depth about how you do certain stuff. So these are more about like entertainment and the career itself. However, tonight I want to make a bit of a special episode and just try to really teach you how to make aircraft in KSP. Specifically aircraft, not space planes, because that's a bit of a different topic, and there's like a lot of differences between them. So with a space plane is basically something that can both fly in atmosphere and in space, and those are obviously more complex. And that's the reason why I don't really want to focus on them for now. We'll get to that shit later. Right now, I just want to show you how to make regular planes, and if I switch to my KSP here, we've actually researched the most basic aviation node. We've done so because we had to actually research the landing node and was just kind of required. This is for our EVE mission that is currently in progress. But since we've researched it, I thought, hey, well, maybe we should try and go fly a little bit, do some plane research stuff. And we actually could also research aerodynamics here, which should allow us to make slightly more complex planes, but mostly it would just give us the access to the wing atmospheric science. I'm actually not sure what to do. So if anyone has suggestions in chat, I don't know. On one hand, I kind of want to save up on the research points, at least for now, and just fly a little bit with the most basic plane, because it'll show you how to work with that stuff anyway. But on the other hand, there's definitely a little bit of benefits of researching this and doing wing atmospheric science right away, because it has to be done over certain biomes. Basically, you have to fly over every single biome of Kerbin, and like, since we're gonna be doing this once, why would we do this like the second time? So I don't know. If you want, you can tell me in chat which would you like to see more. For now, I'm just gonna start showing the basics, and like if you want, you can tell me. I'll give you a little bit of time. So as far as constructing the airplane, pretty much the most important part is, as always, think about what you want to achieve. And what I mean by that is that for a plane, you could have basically three types of missions. One is like a transport mission. You basically take something and you transport it somewhere. That's kind of hard. That's hard for the same reasons why space planes are hard, because space planes don't make all too much sense if you just go somewhere. It's a lot easier to do so with a rocket. They're interesting because they could get a payload to orbit. If you have like an SSTO type of space plane, they can get a payload into low carbon orbit, and they can do so insanely cheaply because, well, you are only using up fuel. So that's their main advantage. But the problem with planes that have a payload bay is that you have to center so that your three centers of mass are in the same spot. So you, first of all, you have your just like your vehicle's center of mass. You also have your center of fuel, and you also have your center of payload, center of mass of the payload itself. And you want to center all of that into one point, and then you have to put the lift vector onto it. So that's kind of complicated, which is why we're not going to be doing that. We're going to cover the more basic approach. it being just regular old planes. And again, when constructing a regular plane that just wants to fly somewhere, you can optimize for two things. One is speed, so you want to get there as fast as possible, and the other is endurance. And endurance is kind of useful if you have to chill over a specific area for a long time. Which, guess what, we have to do, because we're playing with Kerbalism, and Kerbalism is one of those mods that adds length to experiments in KSP, so you can't do them instantaneously. You have to wait for some time, and while you are waiting for that to complete, you kind of have to just fly about. And you don't really care about how fast you're flying, how high, well, in most cases, how high, like, there's a lot of leeway. And so while doing all of this, you basically have to understand that you don't need to go as fast, you just need to hover over specific points, and that kind of changes the design of your spaceplane. I'll get to that a little bit more in a second. But in general, obviously, when designing just a general plane, we're not doing space planes for now, when designing a general plane, you obviously start with the cockpit, and what I like to do is just slapping a big fat fuel tank, and just having that fuel tank as like my main center of mass that I have to worry about. Now, if I open up my RCS build aid and show the center of mass, you can already see the problem. The problem is that we have our dry center of mass, which is this red thing, and we have our wet center of mass, which is the common yellow ball, and they're different. So what this means is that as we're using up fuel, our center of mass is going to change. That is bad. That is bad for the simple reason when we will be adding wings to our airplane, let's say we've added wings, we now have our lift vector. If I try to make it so that the lift vector is aligned with our wet center of mass, then as I'm going to be using up fuel, well, the center of mass is going to be shifting. And now suddenly I have, like, once I've used up all of my fuel, I have a problem where my wings are misplaced and they create a lot of torque. And torque has to be compensated by something. You could have control surfaces for that, and that could work, but if the torque is extreme, you might not be able to correct it altogether, and in general, it just makes the plane hard to fly. You can obviously try to balance it so that you balance to the medium center of mass, which is like in between your dry center of mass and your wet center of mass, but if they're far enough away, that's still going to be a problem. So how do you go about this? Well, obviously the cockpit in KSP being made of tungsten, you have to put something behind, and the further back you put it, the better. And for that, it's kind of easy to use these like tail connectors. What they do is they just allow you to place a little bit of mass at the very end, because even when you're starting to put just these stabilizers, you can see once I put them there, our center of mass is already kind of, well, if I place it correctly, yeah, you can see it already being pretty much balanced. And because we also have to add fuel tank, a little bit more fuel tanks where we're going to be placing our engines, and so the mass of the engines will be able to compensate for that. What I mean is you can have like these Mark 0 liquid fuel fuselages, you put them to like the sides, for example, and then you also place your basic jet engines, you place your circular intakes, and that way you can have these like engine nacelles, and you can basically move them about and get whatever center of mass it is that you want. You can put them as far back as you need in order to make this work. And so that's how you kind of do it. Now, another problem, especially if you're using like these regular wings, You could be using these wing connectors. They're okay, they're fine, but they're kind of flat-ish. And not everyone likes them. Sometimes people want to go for style points, and you might use these wings right here. The problem is that you can see that our center of lift is way behind. So how do you battle that? Well, first of all, you have to realize that the marker that is used in Kerbal Space Program to mark the center of lift, well, it's horrible. Let's be honest. It's bad because it doesn't really show you what happens when you start tilting some of your control surfaces, because these are wings. They're fixed. They're going to be generating a set amount of lift all the time, whereas these are control surfaces. And I can easily make it so that my control surfaces are at a 0-degree angle of attack to the airflow. So they essentially have zero lift, so they essentially have, they just kind of don't exist in a way. And if I remove them, you can see the center of lift has shifted drastically. If I add them again, it shows as if it's like far behind, but in like once you actually try to fly this vehicle, it's not going to try to pitch down that hard, because you probably will have the winglets correcting for that. And so what you need to do is you need to differentiate between your static in any lift surface that is static and any lift surface that is dynamic. And dynamic lift surfaces are very, like, the best place to put them is at the very back. Why? Because in that case, you have passive stability when you try to control them, and they generate like a lot of lift, or a lot of, well, lift in like the other direction. So they give you a lot of control of your aircraft on one hand. On the other, if, for example, you're using MagChap, autopilot, or some other automated systems, what tends to happen is if you have some like automated PID controller working with your aircraft, if you have your control surfaces at the front, what can happen is the PID controller like tries to correct. For example, it like the aircraft is pitching down, so it tries to correct it up. But in that case, because they're in front, they're gonna be generating lift more, and as they generate more lift, they're gonna be tilting the aircraft, and that's gonna make even more lift for these stabilizers per se. And what can happen is you will overcorrect, and that usually results in oscillating behavior. I could actually try to show it to you right now. So you could actually like place these nacelles here. Probably try to line them up so that they're like oriented towards the airflow. And let me just try to show you. I'm just gonna slap some wings, and yeah, it's gonna be a lot easier to explain if I like actually show it to you what tends to happen. It's gonna be funny if it's not gonna work. I mean, obviously it won't work the first time, because of course it won't. But hopefully I will be able to show it to you anyway. Also, one important thing when I'm placing landing gear, I should probably say it right away. You always want to put your landing gear, the rear set of landing gear, as close to the center of mass as possible, slightly behind it. Well, for the simple reason that you don't want your aircraft to tip when it's just sitting there. But that should allow it to easily pitch up while it is on the runway, even if by default your aircraft is like pointing down a little bit, so your wings are actually like not well, they are generating lift. It's just that that lift force is actually pushing you down. And so what tends to happen is that you just can't pitch up your nose because your wings are generating a lot of downforce. So if that happens, it helps a lot when your rear set of wheels are actually very close to your center of mass and kind of like barely behind it. That makes it a lot easier to pitch. Let me actually go ahead and try to demonstrate this. Yeah, this is probably gonna be the first time that I'm gonna be reversing back quite a lot, because I obviously want to explain a lot of stuff. So anyway, let's start the engines here, and notice you can pretty much already see that. Okay, can we please get some lift force? Why is it not going anywhere? Is it just too heavy, or what's going on? It's a little suspicious because, like, we barely have any thrust whatsoever, and that's kind of weird because, I mean, yeah, it's a heavy aircraft, but it should still be moving a lot better. There's also, like, this weird bug that happens with the runway in KSP. Like, the runways level 2 to 3, they're perfectly fine, but, like, first tier runway, it's kind of buggy in a way. Let me just reduce the liquid fuel here to practically 0, just for demonstration purposes. We don't need that much fuel anyway while we are starting, and I just want to be able to move in the first place. Because I want to demonstrate. Actually, let me put the wheels far back for now. I just want to show you how hard it's going to be to try to pitch the nose up. So holding the brakes while you're taking off so your engines can spool up, that could help, but the problem is that they're like they weren't really generating any force whatsoever, so it felt like I wasn't moving at all, and it still seems to be the case. Oh, I finally get what's going on. Okay. Yeah. See the winglets? They're in the airflow, and if that happens, they shield all of your thrust. That's a small bug. Well, it's not really a bug, but normally, like, the airflow should pass, but they're, like, perfectly in the path, so it doesn't. You can basically tilt them a little bit, because, yeah, if you look at well, it doesn't really show individual engine output, but yeah, maybe you can show it somewhere. I'm not entirely sure, but in general, the engines were pointing straight at the winglets, so they were pushing. It's just that they were pushing the winglets themselves, which doesn't really do much. Okay, should be a lot better now. Works like a charm. So anyway, as I'm trying to speed up, I'm just gonna put the winglets at maximum lift up, and notice at what speed I will be able to point my nose up. It was about like 45-ish meters per second. We exploded, but that's normal, because, again, demonstration purposes, that's perfectly fine. But if I were now to move these closer, I should be able to pitch my nose and probably strike my tail a lot earlier. Like, a lot earlier. And for this aircraft, it might not seem very useful because, well, you can easily... Yeah, it basically pitched up by itself, almost. So probably I'll be able to... Yeah, you can see me striking the nose at like 18 meters per second. And for this specific aircraft, you're like, well, how does that even make sense? You can still pitch up the nose anyway. But in some cases, you might like not have this tail, and you might have stabilizer somewhere here, and then your torque created by your control surface is a lot smaller. In those cases, I've seen many designs, and I've made designs of my own, where I would try to lift off, and the aircraft just would not. But once it reaches the end of the runway, it kind of dips off a cliff, and then suddenly you can pitch up no problem. And so what happens in that case is usually you just have your wheels way too far in the back. So anyway, tips so far: first of all, don't be dumb and put something in the way of your engines. That actually happens way too often to me. But another important thing is just try to put your landing gear in a way, well, basically as close to the center of mass as possible, so it's easier to pitch up. The problem in that case is if your aircraft is kind of light, you might be striking the tail. But if that happens, there's always a solution. Just put one of these bad boys somewhere at the end, and you're like good to go. Absolutely golden. You will not strike, well, I mean, you will strike the tail, it's just not gonna matter at all, and you will be able to easily pitch up without having any issues. And so that's how you roughly create a plane. And let me also show a few other planes that I've designed. Here you can see a slightly different plane. This is what I was talking about. So in this case, I'm not actually using the tail boom. I have my pretty much entire aircraft constructed around this big fat tank. And the reason I'm doing so is because, well, I have a part limit of 30 parts or something. And I just thought that who needs the tail connector anyway when we can make ugly aircraft? And there are some merits to doing so. Sometimes you have to do so because of the form factor. Sometimes you need to have like your engines at the back. For example, this part here could have easily been replaced by some like space engine if you're trying to create an SSTO, and in that case you obviously can't have a tail boom. And so these like spaceplane designs, they tend to have a rather abrupt end of the aircraft. And in this case, notice that if I remove these canards, and yes, that's how they are called, if I look at like my center of mass and then the center of lift, you can see the center of lift is far in the back. And so what would happen is the aircraft would pitch down and die pretty much instantaneously. So how do you counter that? Well, you can just put small canards in the front. And what these canards do is they generate a bunch of lift force at the front of your aircraft, which compensates for pretty much anything. And also note that if I actually take the new set of basic fins, if I put them here, they don't really change the center of lift all that much, because they're small. What you can do is you can always just angle them ever so slightly, and that will kind of bring the center of lift closer to the center of mass. And what you can do then is for like micromanagement, if you just want to move it ever so slightly, you can always just use these controls to move it a little bit if you just want to make it very, very precise. And someone's asking in the chat, why no roll control? Well, how this aircraft has the roll control. It has two offset, it has a V wing, or how is it called? Well, basically it has like a V formation here with the control surfaces, and when you have this kind of V at 90-degree angle, it allows you to have all of the controls, because if you want to roll, you just put the stabilizers like this, and that creates a rolling moment. If you want to roll the other way, you roll the other way. If you want to pitch up, you put them both like this, and now they're creating a downward force which pushes at the back of your aircraft, and so it pitches up. Same thing in the reverse, you put them like this, and that creates an upward momentum which pitches your aircraft down. And you can also do yaw. So I'm just going to remove the symmetry for now, just for demonstration purposes. So the way you would create yaw is you would put one of the stabilizers like this, so it's actually creating a downward force there, so basically down and to the right, and the other one you put it, let me think a little bit. So you have to create a force that is up and in that direction, so it's probably going to be something like no, that's down. How do you do this? I don't really remember. So you can probably do like this. Yeah, and so what that'll do, yeah, correct. So you put one stabilizer like that and one stabilizer like this, and what happens is you have one of them push down and to the right, and the other one is like also to the right but up, and so they kind of cancel out, and you have just like this right moment, which is your yaw control. And yeah, so you basically could have a V-tail that pretty much guarantees all of the controls, but in most cases you can actually rely for roll controls on just the gyroscopes in KSP, because those things are absolute giga chats and they create a stupid amount of momentum. However, there's no problem at all. You can slap elevons like at the back here. That's definitely a thing you can do if you can select them. My god, why do they always place them? Damn it. Can I please find the correct... Yeah, so you put them like that, and that's kind of your roll control if you really want to, but in most cases that's just a little bit overkill. Okay, so that's how you can balance. Yeah, so you can use canards, and notice, again, the center of lift here is at the back. So if I do absolutely nothing, and if I launch this aircraft as is, it will in fact try to pitch itself down. What you can do to counter that is, A, you can use the fly-by-wire mod that I was showcasing in one of my previous videos, which allows you to control your aircraft with the mouse instead of the keyboard, which is stupendously more efficient. But also you can use MagJab, and you can use all of the other autopilots. More importantly, you want to have, well, basically, when trying to determine your center of lift, you basically have these static control surfaces, and you want to balance those out first. And then you can slap these guys, because, again, while it does show that, oh my god, it's actually pointing down, it's pointing down only because they are at a 0-degree angle. You can easily deploy them in whichever direction you want. For example, here you could set them to inverted, you can set them to like 5 degrees, and you can even put that to an action group, so when you deploy them, they kind of act like flaps. So they push down, that pushes your aircraft up, and that's how you can create very simple flaps. Although it's kind of sad to attempt to push your aircraft down in order to go up. So what you can actually sometimes do, that's also a thing, you can use dynamic control surfaces that you put at the front of your aircraft as canards, sorry. But you just limit all of the controls, except for maybe roll, for example. You can leave roll, that's perfectly fine. And then, once you deploy them, they will be creating an upward momentum, and because they're at the front of the aircraft, they're going to be pushing it up, so not only are they creating lift force in general, they are also creating a torque. So they're doing two things at the same time. When you have control surfaces at the back, when you're trying to pitch up, you're actually decreasing your total lift force, which is not ideal when you're trying to land. And again, that's the reason why we are balancing our static control surfaces for our center of mass, because what that creates is a scenario where you can have these winglets at the back do literally nothing, and your aircraft is still kind of balanced. You just put them in airflow, so they're like not actively doing anything. They don't create drag, they don't create anything, they don't create like any control issues, and your aircraft is flying perfectly fine. Again, that doesn't work as well if you're using keyboards and the normal SAS. In that case, you probably will have to either trim your aircraft or just like actually put the center of lift so that it's balanced, including all of these surfaces. That's definitely a thing you can do, but I opt for using MegJep and other assisting mods that allow for like a lot easier piloting. And if you're going to be using those, it's just way easier to do like this. So either way, let me just show you this aircraft and roughly how it works. Yeah, so we have this like V-tail. Let's go fly this bad boy. This is a pre-made aircraft, which is kind of a science lab-ish. Basically, it has a bunch of scientific instruments and supposed to fly. Also, let me select the IVA because, of course, I didn't put it earlier because I forgot. And yeah, by the way, in this particular case, it might be a good idea to demonstrate what happens if you put wheels at the very back. So, on the bright side, yes, you will, under no circumstances, be able to strike your tail, which is nice. During landing, for example, it is genuinely a good idea to not strike your tail. However, look, the reptile is learning flight. Yup. So, if I put it like that, I'm not going to be striking my tail any way. Even if I land hard, well, I mean, not too hard. But the problem is that because our front wheel, and that's actually a common scenario when your front wheel is actually a little bit shorter than your back, your aircraft is actually pointing down a little bit. And that's a problem. It's a problem because if I try to activate my engines and I'm gonna enable aerodynamic forces overlay, you can see that when I'm trying to get off the runway, my wings are actually creating downwards thrust. And if I'm trying to pitch my aircraft up, I have to use these winglets to create downwards momentum so that the aircraft will pitch up, but the total force is down. See, all of the arrows are pointing down, and so I can't pitch up. I just can't. It just won't do. However, as soon as I get off the cliff here, I can easily point my aircraft up. So it's like not a problem once you're in flight, it's a problem when you're on the runway. If your aircraft is pointing slightly down, you won't be able to take off. And you might say, well, that's dumb. Real aircraft don't do that. Yes, they do. Look at the Just 39 Gripen, which is a fighter jet. It's actually kind of notorious because it has this absolutely stupid tilt downwards because its front wheel is just super duper tiny. But what you will notice is that it has its wheels closer to its center of mass. And if you do so, even though we will have the same problem of our wings like pointing down and creating downwards thrust as we are accelerating, because our wheels are closer to the center of mass, that'll create a lot more torque for our control surfaces at the back. So even though they're going to be creating the same amount of force, the torque on the aircraft is going to be much more significant. And as you can see right now, they still are creating downward force, but as soon as I try to pitch up, well, I obviously need to reach some speeds, and you can balance it. You can put them like slightly forward, slightly backwards. It's going to be awkward if I'm not going to be able to pitch up anyway. And probably that's going to be the case because I didn't put them front enough because I'm dumb. So yeah, you kind of have to balance that. If you put them too frontally, you run into the risk of striking your tail, which I've already showed you can kind of ignore by just placing a small wheel. Yeah, let me try putting them like super duper close to the center of mass, and that should be a lot better. Just try to demonstrate. Okay, and yeah, notice how it easily pitched up while going 0 meters per second. Well, I mean, that's obviously a joke. Gonna have to balance it correctly. So yeah, there's definitely a sweet Goldilocks zone where if you put them to front, you might risk over pitching basically while you're just standing, and if you put them way too back, you won't be able to pitch up your aircraft when you're trying to take off. Again, you can compensate by that by just having your aircraft point up in the first place, or you could have canards. Again, don't make them controllable, but you can make them deployable as like flaps that will be creating an upwards momentum. And yeah, look at this. I can easily pitch up, and I'm not even gonna strike my tail because I'm lucky enough. But yeah, I can pitch my aircraft up without any issues. Can't take off because it's heavy as hell. Just like your, okay, I'm not gonna make those jokes. But yeah, it's pretty heavy, so it took a while to take off. But I still can do that, even though it's pointing downwards. So, yeah, great. Now also, let me show you just how much easier it is to do if you're using the proper mods you should be using, which is the mouse aim flight, aka I want to control the aircraft just like in War Thunder or any other game that has like a normal control mechanic. So what you do is you install two mods. One is the mouse aim flight, which you can activate by using the P keybinds, and the other one is you switch to free camera and you install the mod called Improved Free Chase Cam. What this mod does is it makes sure that while you are flying, it's pointing your camera where your aircraft is pointing, so you don't have to constantly rotate the camera. And what you can do is you can select like different flight modes using the OK binds, and you just point wherever you want to go. And right now I'm actually gonna point towards the horizon so I can gain more speed, and because my wings don't really generate a lot of lift force, I'm gonna be accelerating faster, and once I have enough speed to take off, just gently put myself up, and that's it, and I'm flying. Great, incredible. And you can cycle through like different flight controls, and you fly with your mouse. It doesn't really make a lot of difference when you're trying to take off, because that's kind of easy. You just press the S key and you're kind of good to go. It's an absolutely insane difference when you're actually trying to land the aircraft, especially if you don't know about trim controls in KSP, which I bet you don't. Well, I mean, some of you might, but in that case you probably should not be watching this stream anyway, because you already know everything. But yeah, in KSP you can actually set trim controls. Let me try to show you. I'm just gonna quickly activate SAS, turn on my HUD, and actually, no, this cockpit doesn't really show the trim. I'm just gonna quickly switch over to a different cockpit design magically, and yeah, you can see the trim here. What you can do is, if right now what I'm doing is I have my SAS on, but when I'm trying to roll, for example, you can see my nose is pitching down. That's kind of sad and that's kind of bad. What I can do is I can use my Alt key, which is Alt on Windows and right shift on Linux, and then I can use my WSAD keys to set the trim. You can see the trim going up. And for example, if I set it to like 40%, what will happen is now if I try to roll, it doesn't pitch down as much. And you can set the trim controls for as much as you want in order for your aircraft to not pitch down like that. But again, why would you do that when you can just use mouse aim flight and just point where you want to fly? That's a lot more convenient. That's kind of how you design these aircraft. Yeah, I'm just trying to think what else I want to tell you about designing like aircraft specifically. Luckily, no one's asking about prop aircraft because those are kind of sad. Actually, you know what? Let me show you. I've actually made a prop aircraft when I was getting ready for the stream because I thought maybe I should show it to you, but then I thought it might be a little bit too complicated. It's actually not the horror. It's where is it? Yeah, it's Prop Nightmare. So this bad boy has a bunch of fuel tanks, it has a bunch of wings, and it has a prop at the back. The problem with this aircraft is when you have two props, there is no problem. When you have like two propellers and they're like on different sides of your aircraft and they're counter spinning in opposite directions, everything's perfectly fine. But if you have just one engine at the back, what will happen is you will have, well, basically, the rotors spin in one direction, your aircraft spins in the other direction. And that's why helicopters have this, like, weird fan at the very back, which counteracts the big blade. For aircraft, because you're moving through air, you can actually use the your normal control surfaces, and you can see here the control surfaces are actually angled, so they will create a torque in the other direction. But the problem with prop aircraft is when you're trying to do that, first of all, you have to constantly monitor that momentum, because it changes with speed, it changes with engine power, and in general it's a nightmare to micromanage. So you constantly have to set the trim. You don't really have to do that if you're using MagJap and mouse aim flight, because they do take that into account. However, if you're flying in base KSP, that's a nightmare. But even the bigger problem is having to work with the deployment angle. So normally props are explored a lot earlier than jets. But in KSP, what tends to happen is you have these... well, basically, if you want to use the group actions, and you want to set the controls, which are like, yeah, these group actions. If you want to do that, you have to upgrade your aircraft hangar. And before you can do that, you have to control the pitch of your blades manually. And that's really, really daunting, really, really annoying, because why do you need to do that? Well, let me just... Actually, oh wait, I can't really show it to you because we would have to probably, yeah, we have to research a science note that I really don't want to do. But it doesn't really matter because, you know, we're gonna be ignoring props on this channel for quite some time until we get like to Duna or something. Maybe we can have a helicopter on Eve or a drone on Duna or something like that. But for now, yeah, props are kind of useless. They're useless because they're a lot harder to micromanage than jets because of all these prop issues. The problem is that you have to control your deployment angle. So you want to constantly make sure that the blades of your propeller are at a certain angle of attack. So for example, the optimal angle of attack might be 3 to 4 degrees. And in that case, they're generating as much force as they can. But as your aircraft starts to speed up, you now have the airflow come in. Well, because it's coming in fast to the blades themselves as they're spinning. So like normally, if the airflow is just like not there, when the blade is spinning, like it is going around the circle, the angle of attack is whatever it is. But when the air starts moving, it makes it so that the angle of attack is actually less. So what you have to do is you have to start tilting your props more and more. So for example, this is how the prop might look when I'm going super slow, but as I'm going faster and faster, I'll have to start angling my props more and more to about like 43 degrees. That's pretty much the fastest I got on this aircraft during testing. It was going about 200 meters per second, which is actually a lot for a prop aircraft. That's about 750 kilometers per second, or per second, Jesus, per hour. So that's kind of fast. I think it's like Mach 0.6. To put that into perspective, that's a lot for a prop aircraft. For my American friends, I honestly don't know how many Big Macs that is in like a football field or something, but you can probably calculate it. I'm sure you're used to it. So anyway, as you are speeding up, you have to start increasing the deployment angle. And you might say, well, what's the problem? Why can't we just set the deployment angle to the optimal 43 degrees that you need when you're going the fastest? Well, the problem is that your propellers will now stall. So a stall is when you have your wing, and as you increase the angle of attack, at some points the lift force that is generated by the wing, it starts increasing, but then it actually starts decreasing. And for different aircraft design, like wing designs in general, you would have different patterns of how wings stall, but at some point they're gonna stall anyway. And you can understand why they will stall, because if you have just like a flat plate, I'm gonna be showing it with my phone. So imagine this is your wing, and if you have it just flat to the airflow, it's obviously not gonna generate any lift. But when it's like slightly angled, it is generating lift. So at some point, as you are increasing, it has to go from like increasing to decreasing, simply because, well, at some point it's gonna be 0, and it has to get there. So as it's increasing, it will unfortunately have to start decreasing at some point. And it doesn't happen like 45 degrees. It actually, for some specific wing designs, it might start happening as early as like 5 degrees. So once you pitch to 5 degrees, you will actually start losing your thrust. And this is a really big problem for prop aircraft, because they need to fly. They need to fly fast, because as soon as they start losing speed, the prop is still rotating, but they won't be able to counteract that, and they're just gonna start spinning like that, which is a big problem. So, and in general, like if you're trying to fly, you're gonna need to maintain your speed. And so what if I set the deployment angle to 43 degrees right away? Well, then my props are stalled, so they are generating effectively like 0 thrust. And what tends to happen is, as you're speeding up, so as your velocity is increasing, you constantly have to micromanage your deployment angle. You want it as high as possible, but not so high as to stall your rotor blades. If that makes any sense. I'm sorry, my ears get blocked. Yeah, so that's the biggest problem with prop aircraft, and that's why they're kind of annoying. it doesn't really happen as much with helicopters. It's still the same problem, but in that case, you probably can use like, well, I mean, that's called controlling the collective pitch, and like there's a whole theory about it. I mean, we'll get to it at some point, but for now, yeah, I'm not gonna touch prop aircraft because they're annoying and they're hard to micromanage. I mean, you can use the Cal 1000 controller here, and you can set it to, for example, the deployment angle, and then you can map the Cal controller to, for example, your what would normally be your throttle. And in that case, you will have like a nice way to control your collective, but you still have to do that. You still have to like constantly monitor your angle of attack, and you have to like literally select these this menu, and you will be there will be a small display that's going to be showing your angle of attack, and you constantly have to monitor that, and so it's annoying. And if you fail to do that, you will either be going slower than you could be because your props are generating less thrust, or worst case scenario, you're gonna stall your rotor blades and suddenly you have effectively zero thrust because you're slowing down. As you're stalling, as you are slowing down, your props are stalling even more, and that's a very bad and vicious cycle. So don't do that. And yeah, this is another aircraft that I've done. It actually kind of follows the same principle. You can see these winglets here. I've disabled pitch and yaw control for them. They only have roll. And the rest of the aircraft is kind of similar. I like the V-tails. The problem with V-tails is that you normally, yeah, I have like weird controls here. Normally you want to set them only to yaw, because if you try setting, well, you kind of have to use pitch in this particular aircraft. But if you try to select, for example, roll for them, it might kind of overload them, and that's not going to be very pretty. So normally you have the canards acts for the roll specifically, and your normal fins at the back, they're going to be controlling your pitch and yaw. Wow, sunset. So anyway, this is like roughly the aircraft that I want to show, and like I said, we're gonna have to do a bunch of science. This is the aircraft that I've chosen. It's basically, well, a bunch of scientific instruments. We actually don't need this. It's not really super finished. But yeah, it's just a bunch of scientific instruments. We've got our atmosphere analysis here. We've got some place to store our experiments. We're gonna be storing slots here. It's actually not gonna be enough. I already know that. So I will just slap one of these experiment storage units instead of that thing. Or maybe I'll just slap it at the back like this. Yeah, that looks ugly as hell, but yeah, okay, let's actually put it like at the top. And if you're wondering, will it be inducing extra drag? Yes, it will, but it's surprisingly negligible. And we're not going to be flying supersonic anyway, so like, who cares? Yeah, we also have the Octo here to store a bunch of data, although we probably won't have all that much. We have a little bit of an antenna here. It's going to be probably pointing to mission control just to start sending data off. But again, not really relevant for this aircraft per se. It's kind of relevant if we had wing, because if we research that, then we can actually fly, well, either the Skylab that I've designed, which is this funny aircraft. It actually has a conventional tail design, and in general it looks like an actual plane. The problem here, you can see that I have to use solar panels because the outputs in terms of like electricity of the engine is simply not enough to maintain the wing experiments because it eats a lot of electricity. Then I tried Skylab 2, which is a kind of failed design. Failed in the sense that I didn't really finish it, but I still think that the aircraft turned out kinda great. Here you can actually see me using elevons at the back. And you can see I've specifically disabled yaw for them. You might say, well, KSP probably won't be using yaw on them anyway, and you would be correct, but it's still sometimes a good idea to deselect that because it just makes it freak out a little less, especially when you're when you're like stalling or in a bad scenario. Anyway, yeah, this aircraft actually kind of reminds me of the Eurofighter. When I was designing it, I even tried to go for like a Eurofighter-ish design, and you have these like winglets, and so normally you would have everything deactivated for them, and your deployment is kind of like your flaps-ish. Also, there's a funny little camera at the front, which is definitely necessary. So yeah, what we can also do is we can... Oh, I have the Raven here. Yeah, just try to experiment with a bunch of weird designs. Here you actually can see me doing... this is one of my earlier designs, and it's bad. It's like genuinely bad. The reason why it's bad, because it has the wheels at the very back, which again is kind of good because you're not going to be striking your tail, but it's also kind of bad because... Well, I mean, it's not that critical in this particular case because it pitches up when it's like on flat surface anyway, so it like never has that problem of not being able to pitch up on the runway as it's speeding up. But yeah, in general, like not a very good design. It doesn't really fly very well. And then I've got the chunky boy here. This is a rather weird aircraft. One of my... Actually, this is like the first time ever, I think, that I tried to have my wings like at the top. And what that allows you is it allows you to put something under the wings. In this particular case, I actually have just like a bunch of fuel tanks, and I strapped the wheels onto them. In the regular chunky boy, these are actually kind of like your drop tank, so they don't actually get back to the airfield. You drop them at some points, and I have these like weird little blobs here to which I attached the landing gear. It's also another way you can attach landing gear if you just want to space them out. The reason why I don't really attach them to the fuselage is because that's just way too narrow of a base, and it tends to flip over, especially during landing. Less a problem if you're using mouse aim flight, again, because it's a lot smoother, but still could happen, especially if you have like steering enabled at like high angles. Could be a problem. But anyway, I'm still waiting for your answer, guys. Do we want to research the wing scientific notes, and we can actually fly the chunky boy? This is kind of funny to fly. It has absolutely stupendous range because it's pretty much all fuel tanks. It can fly... I think it can circumnavigate Kerbin like twice. It's like that dumb. Or we could actually fly the simple boy here, which is a lot simpler. The problem is that we're gonna have to research the wing later experiments, and then I'm gonna have to fly over the same regions again, which is why I don't really want. But I mean, I'm not entirely sure, so I'm still hoping that someone will say something about that. Someone in the vertical chat asked which game this is. That's funny because in the vertical stream there's like this thing at the top right there, and it just says this is KSP. So yeah, that's the name of the game. Okay, no one really wants to answer for reasons. I mean, probably gonna research that node anyway, because I mean, if we're gonna be flying, we might as well fly properly. There's gonna be a lot of awkward silence, I think, because the problem with like doing all of these flight missions is you have to do them like over every single biome, and it just takes a lot of time. That's kind of all. Oh, another thing with the Chunky Boy, we're probably gonna have to upgrade the runway, and for that I'm gonna have to accept a bunch of contracts, simply because I need a lot of money in order to upgrade the runway, because it's, well, it's chunky, it's heavy. I'm just gonna accept pretty much all of these contracts except for these two, because they kind of suck. Let's upgrade our runway, and hopefully we will still have enough funds later on. There's actually a decent chance that we're just gonna run out of funds here altogether. That's gonna be a little awkward, but no, it's totally worth it. Okay, let's take the Chunky Boy here, and let's try to launch it. Let's try to take it out for a spin, and we don't have something, because of course we do. Okay, so we need the bigger engine, we need the fuel nacelles. Oh, I could actually also talk about like different air intakes. So long story short, you've got your like regular circular intakes. They're okay in that they provide some thrust, they provide some air. The problem is that they don't really provide a lot of air during low speed, in which case you can use the engine nacelle, and if you hover over it, you can actually see that it has like effective base speed of 40 meters per second. What that means is when your aircraft is standing still, it'll provide the same amount of air as if your aircraft was moving 40 meters per second, whereas these only provide 15 meters per second. And for example, if I have one of these circular intakes, it has an intake area of 0.6 square meters, and the effective base speed is 15 meters per second. You multiply those two numbers, you get how much air you are receiving. And for static, well, when you're trying to take off, if you have a rather heavy aircraft, you might want that little bit of extra effective base speed, because it'll just give you more oxygen for your engine when you're trying to speed up, which is definitely a thing for this aircraft, because it's a thing huge. I mean, I think it weighs like, yeah, it weighs 20 tons, out of which only like 4.5 tons are like the actual aircraft, and the rest is just fuel. It just has a lot of fuel. And also we need to research, yeah, the wings here. Damn, they actually cost quite a lot, and the aircraft itself is kind of expensive. So hopefully we won't crash. Let's take Trazen here as our brave pilot. Let's select our IVA as asset consolidated, because it's kind of like medium-ish tech. Let's take it out for a spin. I don't know what it is, but my ears keep popping, and it's stupendously annoying. Okay, first of all, let me close Smart ASS here. We do not need that. What we need is Aircraft Autopilot. But when you're using Aircraft Autopilot, MaxJap, I still recommend taking off using the mouse aim flight, because it's just a little bit more reliable. That's the reason why. You have a little bit more control, especially if something goes really wrong. You have higher chance of like actually surviving it. Although I will be probably selecting all of these options right away. So what I want is to basically go towards the North Pole. So we're gonna set our heading hold to 0, and I want to get to like ever so slightly under 6 kilometers, because the wing experiment that we have to run, it requires us to be under 6 kilometers. Let me set my vertical speed to like 10 meters per second. That looks kind of good. And we'll engage the autopilot once we've taken off. Set the camera to free. Also, let's do it from here, just for the fun of it. Okay, so MFD on. We don't really need the filter because it's nighttime anyway. Internal lights on. GPS on. This will show us our endurance, which is kind of important because we're gonna have to hover a lot over certain areas. Seat position up. What else? We don't really have like any flaps or something like that. I haven't really set that up. So let's just spot the stage here. Lock the staging. I'm sorry for like weird camera jiggles. I can't really solve that issue. It like keeps suddenly moving the camera back to where it was pointing when I release the mouse, which is stupendously annoying, but nothing I can really do about it. And let's go. And yes, if you were wondering, MAF also works from within the cockpit as well. So let's go for launch. Max engine power, and we are go. Gonna be taking off during nighttime, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. Okay, so basically what I want is to accelerate in level flight until like about 80 meters per second, which is where I'm gonna pitch my nose up. Actually gonna activate SAS on here and close my gear. And let's actually enable MagJeb right away. It's gonna turn us towards the North Pole, and on we go. I'm gonna wait a little bit before I will actually... I think I'll just activate Time Warp, like, times 12. Because, I mean, if we look at the endurance of this thing, it shows here 4 hours. Don't believe it. It's more than 4 hours. It's like closer to 6. Because we are going to get to a higher altitude, so there's going to be less air friction, so we actually won't be using as much fuel. There's probably going to be around like 6 hours worth of flight time, which is a lot. And obviously this stream won't go for 6 hours straight, because I'm going to be insane by the end of it, or I'm just going to leave. So let's try to set the time warp here. Let's start with like standard physics time warp. Let's accelerate it to like ×4. Just get to altitude. And once we are at high altitude, then we can actually go ahead and enable like ×12. Basically fly towards the North Pole. And yes, this is the advantage of MagJeb Autopilot, is that I literally have to do absolutely nothing. Just kind of enjoy it. There will be quite pretty views as we get closer to the North Pole. I did crank up the visuals a little bit for this specific stream, because there's not going to be any big spacecraft or something like that, so I'm not really too worried about the physics. And I've also tweaked the stream recording. I've tweaked in OBS for a little bit. Hopefully you will now have a slightly better picture. Again, not 100% sure, but yeah, the encoder seems to be handling it pretty well. And yeah, on we go. On our way. Oh my god. Let me deselect battery messages, because the wing takes so much electricity to run. It takes like, I think, like 2.8 electricity per second, and our puny little engine generates like 2. We're constantly gonna be out of energy, but that's not really a problem. We will be gaining it back at some point. I mean, it's not like we're gonna be running the experiments all the time. Yeah, so it basically accelerates all the way here, and for some reason there's an alarm going on. Oh, it's a low charge alarm. Okay, I'm not gonna be in cockpit for now because it just screams low alarm for no apparent reason. Funnily enough, you can see our endurance is already at like 7.5 hours. Anybody wants a 7.5 hour stream, guys? Yeah, I'm not gonna be doing that. Actually, you know what? Let me reduce the vertical speed for MagChap here, because we are flying kind of slow. I do want to keep my speed somewhat above like 200 meters per second, because I also want to fly reasonably fast. Don't want to take this forever. But yeah, mostly it's just gonna be chill. Also, another interesting thing, I'm just gonna switch to physics warp times 12, and excuse me, if it explodes, I will have to revert back. But hopefully it won't, and yeah, we're now running at like times 12 acceleration, which is a lot. But hopefully it'll kind of hold. There is another issue in that you can see our altitude here. Oh, it's actually, yeah, never mind. We don't really have a problem. So what could happen is when you're accelerating to like times 12 time warp, theoretically, in some cases, not always, but sometimes, you could have the MagChap, because you're time warping so hard, your aircraft could like start wobbling up and down. If that happens, you can try to set your vertical speed limit to 0. That could help. If that doesn't help, the only thing you can really do is either to slow the time down to times 1, wait till you're past wobbling, and then try to slowly ramp it back up, or just creates a better aircraft design, because if it wobbles too much, that probably means that you don't really have a good aircraft design in the first place. And yeah, this is going to be one of those streams where I'm actually going to maybe even hide myself and just let you enjoy the views, because I mean, they are pretty good. You can't argue with that. As we are flying towards the North Pole here, narrowly missing the mountains. Actually, don't know if I want to keep it like times 12. Maybe I can keep it like at just times 8, because that makes a slightly smoother picture. Or maybe even times 4. I don't know. Tell me what you want. You want like a several hours worth of just flying around Kerbin or something? Because we can definitely do that. We've got 7 hours of endurance. Actually gonna go get myself a drink. Oh, I just realized that I still have the camera on vertical stream, but that's probably not really a problem. Doesn't matter all that much. I really like the sun visuals, like the sunset and everything, or rather sunrise in this case. I mean, there are probably going to be several sunrises and sunsets during this one mission. because we have to fly towards the North Pole, F around there for a little bit, and then fly all the way to the South Pole, and hopefully we'll visit every single biome. Except for maybe Badlands. I'm not sure we're gonna visit those in this flight specifically, but if we miss just like one biome, that's not really that big of an issue. Okay, how is our science doing? Oh, it's actually doing fine. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to enable relay satellites view here, and I probably want to connect my antenna to Bumblebee 1. We only have one antenna, it can only point at one satellite, but I just want to have at least some connection. Because even though we do have a lot of storage space with the Octo 2, we don't have infinite storage, so I do want to send at least some data off, or we're gonna fill our entire hard drive. That's not gonna be perfect. But yeah, other than that, just gonna keep flying. More sun visuals for you. Probably show you from the cockpit a little bit. Oh, you know what I can probably do? If, like, I can aim well enough, which I probably can't, because it's kind of hard to do. Yeah, I wanted to do this. You can see Trazen chilling on her 8-hour mission or something. Actually, like 8 hours for KSP, that's like more than a day. So, while for us, this mission will take like an hour or something, for her it's like more than 24 hours, I mean, effectively. You can even see the clock there. See how it like has only 6 hours? Because, you know, KSP 6 hours, 400 something days in a year or something. I don't really know those numbers exactly. Trace and Kerman must be feeling so sick flying this thing, her friends wouldn't even believe her. Yeah, I mean, she looks happy. She looks happy AF, to be completely honest. And I get it. Like, this is a nice aircraft. I mean, it's the first aircraft that we've built in this career. And it's the chunky boy. We didn't have no puny aircraft. We just went straight to the cool stuff. I actually noticed that at some points I've stopped the time warp for reasons. Don't know why that happened, but yeah, we definitely want to keep time warping. Our endurance is about 6 point something hours, which is still insane. And if we look at the range, our estimated range is about 4,743 kilometers. I mean, that's a lot. That's like, for a single engine jet, that's kind of insane. Cool cloud mod, someone says. Which one is that? So you can see all of my mods if you open the description for this video, and you can find literally every single mod that I'm using in the GitHub repo. I'm pretty sure I have the link there. Yeah, it's like the last line, mods I use and more. You can see all of the mods I'm using with the mod pack, link to CCAN. And there also should be some of the crafts I have. I haven't added everything because mostly people keep asking about the mods and not like the actual craft designs. But at some point I will probably go and add all of the crafts as well for your inspiration or abuse. But yeah, we're kind of closing in towards the North Pole. Actually, the cloud mods, I think it's like parallax plus. Yeah, I mean, it constantly forgets the name of that one mod. You can probably look it up just for those who really don't want to open up GitHub for reasons. So, main mods that I'm using is parallax, spectra for like atmosphere reamp, and scatterer for atmosphere effects. Probably it's mostly the scatterer. Also, let me turn on the lights. Because like I turned the camera off on the horizontal stream, but it's still active on the vertical stream, and I look like a swamp puppy there. Yeah. We're gonna see the aurora here in just about a second, and we're actually kind of closing towards the North Pole here. I'm actually gonna set the roll hold to like -6, -7. I want to loop around these regions a little bit because we want to get that sweet science over like the cold shores and everything. Maybe we can even open up CurbNet if we like want to be super fancy about it. So yeah, we could open up this bad boy, and we can see we've got grasslands over there. We've got the cold shores. So I really want to scan cold shores because it's a rather small biome. Also, I need the cold ocean, and I also need tundra. These are like the primary things I want to scout here. Also, I just noticed that I had SAS on for reasons, which was kind of preventing me from turning, but that's actually fine. And yeah, we can see tundra right there, so probably be able to scout most of the biomes by just flying over this region. Although we already ran out of electricity, so I'm probably going to deactivate the antenna here so that we can gather science a bit more quickly. Let me just open up the menu here. I just want to make sure that we visit absolutely everything while we're here. We could probably actually try to reduce the engine throttle a little bit, because we don't actually need to fly. Oh no, wait, we don't want to do that, because even though we want to loiter, all of our electricity comes from the engine anyway, so we're gonna have to burn fuel anyway, so it doesn't matter all that much, I guess. Damn, the tundra biome is just so small for reasons. I don't know why they made it like so small. This could have easily been tundra. Actually, if we were to fly slightly lower, we could theoretically see snow. It's like, it's possible, it's there. It looks kind of weird. At first I thought I had a graphics card glitch, and I thought my laptop was dying, and then I realized it was snow, and I was like, oh. Oh. So that's what it is. Actually, you know what? Let me fly a little bit further in like that direction. Kind of west-ish. A little bit, because I want to fly over tundra a little bit more, and I think it's like somewhere there-ish. Let me open up CurbNet once more. yeah, this is the tundra that we're flying over right now. We probably will collect a lot of signs here. Okay, so we've set our roll hold to like -15, just so that we don't have a circle too wide, maybe even like -20. Let's try going like time warps 8, maybe. Yeah, like that. Damn it, can I turn the alarm off? Can you like not? No, it still keeps screaming at me for reasons. I don't actually know how to turn the alarm off. Can you like shut up for a second? Or like if I put myself like this, it shuts the alarm off, but that's not really what I want. Okay, let's go third person. Because it's way too annoying and it kind of breaks the vibe. Yeah. This is kind of nice. I like this area. And we also have got the northern lights. I mean, it's a Saturday stream. What do you want from me? I'm probably gonna chill back and relax a little bit. The chat is not very active today for reasons. I even have enough time to look through the vertical stream chat. Crazy how with just a few mods you can get KSP to look like KSP 2 or even better with volumetric clouds and Firefly mod. Actually, damn it, I constantly forget to get the Firefly running. It's definitely one of those mods that I should adopt. And I don't for reasons. I guess I will at some point. Okay, we've gathered all of whatever it is that we need over Tundra. I'm actually gonna swap the direction here, fly over a little bit of a different region here. Let's fly over the cold ocean, the cold shores here. Get a little bit more science over here. Let me open up the curb nets. Okay, we've got the cold ocean here, and I also want to fly over the cold shores as well. Okay, yeah, this looks like a good enough trajectory. But yeah, returning back to the comments, I never really got... Well, I mean, I understand why KSP2 was trying to do the whole, like, good graphics and everything instead of, like, actually good gameplay. Because here's the thing, it's kind of easy to do good graphics these days. I'm not, like, I don't want to diminish... Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the developers of these mods, like, they just did nothing or something like that. No, they did a great job, and it's a hard job, but it's kind of, well, I mean, there's like a lot of experience that people have how to make good visuals, because good visuals are just something that is present in a lot of games. Whereas having like good physics engine, having good orbital mechanics, and just like gameplay in general, that's something that KSP specifically had to pioneer a little bit, at least some parts of it, and in others, it was kind of the first altogether. But in general, yeah, they kind of went into the whole, let's try to make good graphics, even though that's not really what made KSP1 successful. KSP1 was successful because it was just a good game in general, and graphics came later on. It's not really a problem to make better graphics for KSP. It's a lot harder to make the physics engine work well. It's a lot harder to do the simulation and all of the like trajectories, all of that stuff. That's the hard parts. Working out the kinks of like just having good graphics is it's just not very hard. It's something that can be quite easily done by experienced developers these days. Okay, should probably be able to sweep over the cold shores here like one last time. Maybe like one or two more loops. And that should be done. Then we're probably gonna go to like the northern ice shelf. And maybe a little bit like of the cold oceans and everything. And should be kind of it. Yeah, we just need to finish the cold shores here. Probably gonna be it. I'm actually kind of surprised that this stream got like 60 viewers already. Because I really was just not expecting anyone to show up. Even though I tried to market this stream as like, oh, let's go learn how to fly planes. Realistically, I was like expecting no one to show up, and this is way more than no one. Which is great. I'm not saying that because I'm annoyed, I'm saying that because it's great. Okay, let's fly towards the North Pole. I'm gonna visit the northern ice shelf, and also we can go over the ice caps over here. Might actually put ourselves like in a small roll here, fly. We don't really need to fly specifically towards the North Pole because there's like not much there to see anyway. Yeah. We're actually starting to run kind of low on like storage space. I'm probably gonna activate the antenna here even though we're kind of low on power. I do need more electric charge, but I also need more storage space because if we're gonna run out of it, we won't be able to keep the experiment running anyway. Although we could probably wait till we're like at almost 0% and then activate it. So it doesn't matter all that much. Actually, you know what? I could probably put it into like a slight roll here at like 10 degrees and activate the antenna and give you a few more good visuals. Because, you know, good visuals attract viewers. That's how it works, I think. I don't actually know. Damn it, these messages from Kerbalism are a little annoying. I'm not sure I can actually hide them, by the way. What I can is I can move my mouse. Someone in Vertical Stream asked, who are you talking to? Well, first of all, I'm talking to you, if you're asking that. You probably are watching the stream. And second, well, I mean, there are some viewers in the horizontal stream, sometimes there's someone in the vertical stream, sometimes someone watches the recording, and sometimes, yes, I'm pretty sure that at some point during all of these streams I was just talking to myself, but that is just what happens, and it's part of being a small YouTube channel. It'll get better. I hope. This is gonna be quite annoying if I'm thinking that if I can keep these streams running for like several months consistently, that YouTube will start recommending me a lot more. Hopefully we'll have just a bigger audience. And honestly, I want to have like more of this in general. Just try to improve the channel, improve the rates at which videos come out. Because mostly I was not pushing out a lot of videos just because I was finishing my graduation. But with that like on the horizon, hopefully I should be able to make more videos. And YouTube, funnily enough, like something like Instagram, you can just make a single banger and it's gonna get a few billion views or something like that. With YouTube, it's not like that. There are a lot less accounts where they have just like one super popular video and that's kind of it. That does happen, obviously, but it's just not as often that you see that. In most cases, it's just either you don't really have a lot of views or you consistently push out videos. And consistency is definitely not something I was rocking all this time, but you know, that can be solved. Okay, so we've actually gathered all of the experiment near the North Pole, I'm pretty sure. So you could actually now try to fly south-ish, not actually 100%. Oh, I can actually, you know what? I think I can use like the sun as the reference to where I'm flying, because it's kind of hard to understand. Yeah, what I want is to fly there-ish, like in that direction. I want to try visiting the Badlands, if possible. That's gonna be nice. Someone in the chat, hey, you did it. Did what? I'm sorry, but I didn't catch that. Maybe I was like saying something and you wrote it instantly, but like I have no clue what you're talking about right now. But you did what? You learned to fly. Well, yeah, I guess I did. I mean, I actually knew how to fly. It's like... Oh, wait. Oh, I get it. Damn it. I forgot that I named the stream Learning to Fly in KSP. No, it's not me learning to fly. It's you guys learning to fly. You got it wrong. Like... By the way, look at the absolutely humongously large Mun over there. And Minimus are kind of both chilling there. Yeah, look at that. That's the money shot. And we also have the sunset here. This is also going to be a money shot. Absolutely perfect. Look at this. Stunning visuals. I am an owl. I know how to fly. Well, yeah, I guess. But do you know how to fly in KSP? That's the real question. Yeah, I really like the visuals. I mean, you can say all you want, but I'm actually enjoying this stream slightly more than all the others, because I was kind of focusing on like progression and everything. Here, I just like knew from the start that this mission will take like 7 real-world hours, and even though we are time warping at like times 12, that's still like several hours of just flying around. And once you kind of accept that, it's a lot easier to kind of relax and chill. Actually, you know what? Let me save the game here, just in case. Because you really don't want to have to redo this. just in case the physics engine decides to smack me in the face. Which happens from time to time, or I just run into a mountain because, you know, I'm trying to get the money shots here. And, like, actually, you can't really see this as a viewer, but on, like, my second monitor, I have opened the YouTube live stream thing, and it just kind of shows how many of you are watching at a given time. Funnily enough, as soon as I make a decent shot, like good visuals, there are suddenly more viewers watching. 5 viewers is crazy, this deserves way more. Yes, it does. That's my honest opinion, but like in seriousness, it's just that I haven't been streaming consistently. Right now, my goal is to make it so that I'm having like 1 to 2 streams every single week. And as soon as I can do that consistently, I think the viewers will kind of come. Because, by the way, yeah, join my Discord. It's there. I can actually do the thing. Let me do the thing. So I can just enable my camera. Hello there. For the horizontal stream. And then you can flash the join my Discord thing. Because it's a thing. You should join my Discord. We've got a vibrant community of KSP enjoyers there. Link is in the link is in the description. That was an epic fail. Anyway, we're trying to fly over the water here, gathering a little bit more science. We actually have the stupid Coriolis effect bringing us off course, which is annoying, to say the least. Yeah, so the desert is here, so you actually should have Badlands somewhere over here, I guess. I can't really see anything from the map. Also, we probably need to select the different satellites. So, above us there is Bumblebee 2. Let's select that as our relay satellite, because we don't actually have a connection right now, which is annoying. Okay. But yeah, like I said, YouTube kind of punishes you if you're uploading in a broken cycle. Not cycle, schedule, sorry. If you have like a broken upload schedule and you have these like weird pauses where you don't upload anything for like half a year, it's gonna kind of punish you in a way that you're going to get less views than you can have otherwise. I've noticed this time and time again. When I release several videos, even though the videos might not perform as well, the other videos on the channel will start performing better. And it comes to the point where sometimes I would upload several videos and they'll get like 0 views, like close to none. But my other videos, which are more successful, might suddenly get a lot more views because consistent uploads are a thing, and YouTube really rewards you for consistently uploading, which is again something I kind of struggled because of trying to finish my education here. Actually, I'm gonna open up the CurbNet access here, because I want to find the stupid Badlands. They should be somewhere here. Right there. Probably we should go somewhere toward a little bit more westward. Not entirely sure, I'm just kind of trying to find them randomly-ish. The good thing is that we still have 3.5 hours of endurance and a lot of range, so probably we don't really have to worry about fuel all too much. And actually, this plane is capable of landing in the wilderness if we really have to make an emergency landing because we're running out of fuel. But then again, we also have like, for example, we have the desert airfields, we have the boomerang launch site. We can kind of land close to those. It's still going to be the same thing. Although they're all kind of in this hemisphere, whereas here are the Badlands. I mean, they're kind of called like that for a reason, I guess. But for now, I'm seeing only grasslands. I don't know where the Badlands are. Not at 100% sure. We could, by the way, try to go slightly higher. That could be a thing. So the idea of going... Oh, wait, I didn't have the cycle on CurbNet. That's kind of dumb. Cheers, mate. Yeah, so anyway, I think they should be, like, somewhere here. I'm not entirely sure, by the way. Kind of trying to find them on random. Hopefully we will find them soon. If not, we could try going to higher altitude so that we're, like, flying more efficiently. And we'll also have a bit more coverage for our curb nets. Yeah, we've got the highlands here, but no badlands for reasons. I'm actually tempted to open up KSP Carbon. I'm just gonna open it in a web browser and try to find it on the map. Although I'm not entirely sure where we are right now. Oh, damn it, I accidentally cut throttle. Okay, so in terms of like the biomes, yeah, they should be on the other side, and they should be kind of these like mountainous areas near the equator, slightly lower. Oh wait, yeah, we're way north. Okay, we need to go south, hopefully without slamming ourselves into a mountain. Thank you very much. Although we're kind of aimed for one, but hopefully we're high enough. I'm not exactly sure which is the highest point on Kerbin, like how high is it in like sea terms level, but I think it's still higher than like whatever this is that we're flying. I'm flying so low, by the way, simply because I have to run the experience below 6 kilometers. Personally, I'd fly like 10 kilometers altitude or something like that. That feels a lot more safe, that's a lot more efficient, in general, it's straight up better. Okay, so hopefully we should be able to find them pretty soon here. Actually trying, like I have the map of Kerbin open on like the other display. I'm trying to kind of find where they are roughly. I think they might be this region over here. So I actually need to fly towards the sun. Damn it, we missed them. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately we missed them. But we'll get them. At some point. Oh, this is taking way too long. Oh my god, we're in Badlands. We're finally in Badlands. Okay, we found them. They are right here, although I can't really see them on the map, but somehow we did find them. I mean, that is what matters, right? We found them in the end. Although, kind of missed them a little. There's this like a small region of Badlands here. Very, very, very small. Let me put the roll hold here. I'm gonna circle around. We could do one of two things. We could, like, circle and try to find a bigger patch, or we could just, like, not bother and just find a Badlands region and try to get it. Yeah, okay. Look at that. We've got some here. Yeah, we can just circle around this area. I don't know what makes this particular region Badlands. It's like not visually distinct. But I mean, it's like tundra, really. Not sure it has anything special other than just like a magical marker. Hopefully we're gonna collect all of our research here fairly quickly. It's still gonna take some time. Well, I mean, we still have several hours worth of endurance. Although it's kind of getting, like, we don't have that much fuel left. We have only, like, 2.5 hours worth of fuel. Which, I mean, is still a lot, and we could probably, like, if we try to go super high altitude, we could probably get a lot of range out of those 2.5 hours. Because then again, we're flying at like 6 kilometers. This aircraft could go to 12 on min fuel. So as our fuel drains, while our like endurance range is not very great, especially if we're forced to keep like a low profile at like under 6 kilometers, if we really have to, we can really go super high, and that should give us a lot of range. Okay, yeah, so I found this like small patch of Badlands, and I'm just kind of hovering over it-ish. By the way, you know what we can do? I just realized we could probably try to, like, as we enter the Badlands here, we could try to reduce throttle and just try to make a significantly tighter loop. So hopefully that should increase our time over Badlands specifically. Although I think I kind of screwed it up a little. Yeah, okay. This looks good enough. I just want to make a tighter circle here to get that Badlands science. Oh, and this is what I was talking about. Look at this. Look at that. MechJep is going crazy. It's going up and down, up and down. And this is not really a problem like of insufficient speed. I mean, it's partially a problem, but even if we were going like significantly faster, probably is going to be doing this shit as anyway. So what you can do is you can set vertical speed to 0, and even though your like target altitude is the same, look at that, it has stabilized. Then you pop it to like back to 1 meter per second, and then there you go, it has successfully stabilized, which is all you could really ask for. Oh, we actually ran out of electricity here. Oh, that's annoying. Flying so much over Badlands that we ran out of electric charge a little bit. Oh, hell nah, these mods are advanced. No, they're not so hard. Like, don't be scary. Don't be scary. This is fine. This is okay. We've actually I think we're gathered like all of the Badlands. I'm not 100% sure. I just want to wait till we fly over Badlands once more, just so I can make sure that we've definitely collected everything. I didn't really catch that. Okay, I'm gonna stop the time warp. I'm going to, get the free chase cam on, disengage autopilot. Let's go check it out manually. Because I just want to make sure that everything is 100% covered and we do not have to return. It like shows that we've completed 0.9 Badlands. I'm like not 100% sure it's that like we haven't uploaded some of it yet, or is it that we didn't really get all of the science? Because it's not a problem if we haven't uploaded all of it yet. It's a problem if we haven't like researched all of it. Oh, like some Badlands patch over there. Oh, wait. Damn it, I can't quite get how CurbNet like orients itself. It's kind of weird, to be completely honest. Are you on Twitch? No, I'm not, because I can't stream to multiple platforms, because potato computer. Okay, what the fuck is that mouse aim? Yes, it is! I have a dedicated video about this thing. It's called Mouse Aim Flights. And yes, it's kind of like War Thunder-ish. It's super convenient, super great. Definitely check it out. I have a special video. Might actually get the link for you once I set the autopilot. Oh my god, we actually found a little patch of desert here as well. Wow, that's kind of interesting. Anyway, I mean, there are like much easier ways to visit deserts, so I'm not gonna be doing that. Let's engage our autopilot back on, set roll hold to 0, and we also want to visit the South Pole. So the way we do that is we set our heading hold to 180 degrees, set it, and it'll fly itself all the way to the South Pole. Let me just set our vertical speed to like 5 maximum. Actually, no, it's like 10 meters per second. I want to climb faster simply because I want to spend more time at higher altitudes where the air is less dense, so we're more efficient. Activate our antenna so we're transmitting our data. Close the coordinate axis to not scare off new people. And let me go get you that link to the video about mouse aim flight. Might actually be useful to just have it linked right here in the stream. Gotta get those sweet subscribers. There you go. That's the link. Don't go watch it. Wait a second. Don't go watch it right now. Watch it when I tell you to. That is right after the stream ends. Okay, another question. What are your potato computer specs? Well, it's not actually potato computer per se. I'm just gonna get completely cancelled right here if I say the specs near the words potato computer. So I'm like not gonna say them at all because I'm just gonna get instantly banned. Let me just put the timer up here. Let me get the sun. Where's the sun? Right there. Just gonna put it like this so we have a bit of a montage here going on. But yeah, okay. So my definitely not potato computer, and actually a very powerful beast of a machine that I have, rocks a 3070, which is a good GPU. It's good. It's great. It has 8 gigabytes of VRAM. It's solid in terms of performance, but you also have to understand that I am streaming and I'm playing with all of these visual mods at pretty much the highest settings. And with all of the mods and with all of the streaming, and because it's a laptop, it's not a stationary computer, it has power limits. And so what tends to happen is as soon as I activate streaming, my performance in game, like usually it sticks around like 60 frames per second, as soon as I start streaming, it drops to like 40%. And no, I'm not using the GPU for the encoder. I'm using like the Intel coprocessor thingy. But like it still drops just because there's like a total power limit for the laptop. And thank you very much for the subscription. I appreciate that. I really do. Believe me, small channels, you mean absolute worlds to them. That's actually not that bad. Yes, it is. It's great. I actually saw your heart, by the way. If it was you. Yeah, it's a good laptop. I mean, it is great. You think you're small? I mean, by YouTube terms, I think I consider less than 1,000 subscribers to be small channels, and like 1,000 to 10,000 like medium-sized channels. Higher than that, like the heavy hitters, and like everything 1 million or something. That's serious stuff. But like, yeah, sure, okay, I do have more than 100 subscribers. I'll give you that. I passed that barrier, and when I start streaming, some people actually show up. And I also have a Discord, which recently started to form like an actual community, which makes me happy as hell, by the way. Also, yeah, join Discord, link in the description, and all of that stuff. Okay, we're kind of flying towards the South Pole, kind of getting closer to it. I actually have no clue what you expected for the stream to happen. Oh, you thought maybe I have like some magical link because I have like a bot or something. That's actually a good idea. Yeah, I should probably do that. Although you're kind of also the first person to like ever try to do that, so it's like not that big of an issue. But you know, again, the great advantage of small channels is that I read every single message, so I'm gonna give you a personalized reply, so your command kinda does work. With just like a little bit of a delay, but you know, there's that. Already joined. Damn it. You can leave and use the link again. Just for the lols. Yeah, I actually haven't set the bots. I do have like a bot in Discord, but it like doesn't give the pre-1000 rolls yet. It can give you rolls on demand, but like it can't give you the roll right away. Because I haven't coded that yet, because I'm trying to flex that I know how to program, and I have my own Discord bot. Because that's a flex, I guess. Maybe not. Not entirely sure. Never used Discord all that much. Okay, I'm starting to get kind of worried because we are running a little low on fuel. Then again, as soon as we get that southern ice shelf, we can kind of land pretty much like straight on it, and we'll be golden for the most part. Except that I really don't want to pay the refund costs for like landing far away from the Kerbal Space Center. And for that reason, ladies and gentlemen, we are climbing to 10,000 meters just because I don't want to run out of fuel. Let's exchange social security numbers. You go first. Yeah, sure, mate. Funnily enough, for some reason today, the vertical stream is doing awfully bad. Like, usually most of the people who come, they come from like the vertical stream. today, the vertical stream is doing worse than the horizontal one. Which is surprising. That, like, has never really happened. What is it? Is the magic of vertical streams not there anymore? Okay, I'm wondering if I can try ×8 time warp, because it, like, didn't really work for a little bit. Maybe, yeah, it seems to work right now kind of fine-ish, sort of okay-ish, probably is gonna be okay. But yeah, as we got to 10,000 meters, you can see that our endurance is like 3-point-something hours back. Although our speed is slightly lower, that's probably gonna stabilize as we level out. Someone's really pushing the emoji button thing. Damn, that's a lot. That's a lot of clicks. Never really understood the point of that thing though, like, I just don't get what's the point. I mean, I'm glad you're doing it, because I'm a small channel, and I'm glad for any interaction whatsoever. If someone is watching the stream, that's already an incredibly good day for me. I may have just downloaded an auto-clicker. Well, I mean, in that case, I can fully understand you. Anyway, let me get some of those cockpit shots, because they also attract a lot of people for obvious reasons. Does it actually boost engagement? I don't know. If you're, like, asking about the clicks thing, I have absolutely no clue. I mean, I would argue that I have no clue about pretty much anything on YouTube, because again, small channel. Well, I mean, I know a little bit, but not enough to get me to 1,000 subscribers just yet. Although I do think that mostly is just me with the consistency. Look at that. We also have this thing, which is something that I don't know how it works. Actually, I have no clue what it is. I mean, I kind of know what it is, but I don't know how to use it properly. Damn, and it's also kind of funky with the controls. Wow. So this, I know that, like, this thing is used for, like, landing and everything. It's like you set the airstrip direction, you set, like, the direction you're going from, something like that. Show us the juicy HUD. I mean, I can actually switch the IVA in flight, luckily. Can do different cockpits. This is a slightly different cockpit. Still got the HUD. There's also, like, one of my favorites is DIVA. DEIVA. It's by far the best. It's the best because you have these, like, displays here, which are really, really nice. And also I really like the HUD in this thing. It's, like, pretty much one of the most functional HUDs in terms of, like, what it tells you. The only problem that I have with this one is that there's, like, no way to, how do you call it? My English is not English, and I'm sorry. There's, yeah, the filter. So with this thing, you can turn it on, but you can also set the filter, so you can kind of filter out the background if you're flying, like, into bright light. And this is the reason, partially, why I use, like, this cockpit as my primary cockpit. Even when I can justify using more modern cockpits, I just really like this one. Oh, by the way, we're over the low ice shelf thing. Wait, okay. Get us back to like 6 kilometers. Thank you very much. Yeah, let's go dive down. F-18 HUD? Yeah, I mean, kinda. The cockpit is kind of similar. I wish that at some point I would understand how to mod my own cockpits, because I really have a few thoughts on how I want to make the cockpits. For example, here you've got this display over here, which can, for example, show the camera if you have it installed on the spacecraft. The problem is that it's kind of low, so you're either looking down on the camera or you're looking like at the HUD. What I would like is to have my HUD over here, maybe this like little control panel over here for like the primary functionality of the HUD itself, but then right under it, a big fat display, because I could have the display right under it, and I could map it to a camera that's underneath my aircraft nose, and so that way I can have kind of like a see-through cockpit-ish. And so when I'm like flying high, I can set it to like altitudes, and if I'm flying low enough, for example, I'm coming in for landing, I could like show the air, I can see the airstrip better. Okay, let's dive down here a little bit, get that science points, and get out of here. How long will the stream be going? I think I'm just gonna finish this mission, and probably that's it. I'm not entirely sure, but like, it's just that this mission has been going for literally 1 day. In KSP terms, which is like 6 real-world hours, aka an awful lot. Because yeah, it just takes a long time to do all of this research, because you have to fly over different biomes, and even once you like actually get to those biomes, you still have to do the research, which takes like 12 minutes or something, for like every single biome. So yeah, it just takes a long time. Speaking of getting back, we should probably enable navigation and kind of start flying towards KSP. Sort of, kind of, ish. Oh my god, I actually kind of fumbled with the roll hold there a little too aggressively. Okay, let's set ourselves something like that. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly at like what azimuth we should be flying, like what heading. Probably we could set it to like 45 degrees and fly somewhere there. Yeah, I think that's gonna work reasonably well. Let's try that. Although, now that I'm thinking, maybe 45 degrees is a bit overkill, but there's the weird Coriolis effect thing going on, so maybe it'll kind of correct for it. So in case you don't know, Coriolis effect is because the planet is spinning, objects that are flying, they kind of curve in a little bit, so you kind of constantly are pushed either to the left or to the right. Unfortunately, I don't exactly know which one it is that I have to worry about right now. So actually, I should probably fly sort of straight towards the KSP. Just try at least. And then we'll kind of correct for it as we progress. Although I'm starting to think that we probably won't collect all of the science until we leave. So we're probably going to have to make a little loop over here. But that's not a problem, we can do that. Look at that. Absolutely love these visuals. Yeah, I'm gonna have to make a loop. Let me put it to like 30 degrees. Just make one little loopy loop. And then we're gonna be back on our merry way towards the KSP. Just gonna make one single loop, and we have officially collected everything. Now, in terms of, like, range, I think we're kind of okay, actually. In terms of, like, how much fuel we have. But I want to be on the cautious side, so I'm just gonna put the altitude hold to 10 kilometers anyway. Although I should probably ascend a lot less aggressively. Okay, can you please, like... Oh my god, can you... damn it. Let me stop the time warp thing, because it's doing weird stuff and I can't control it. Also, please roll in that direction so we can start flying towards the KSC. And I think we have to fly towards, like, 315 azimuth. Somewhat. Yeah, something like that. Okay, let's set our heading hold to, like, minus... Or, oh, we can't do minus. Oh, that's annoying. That's really annoying. Okay, let's just set it to roll hold 0 for now, and we'll kind of figure it out later on. Okay, so when we are flying at this stupidly high altitude, we should have an estimated range of 1,400 kilometers. And our distance to KSC is 700 kilometers, and MechJap is doing weird stuff because of course it is. Set vertical speed to 1. Hopefully it'll correct itself here. Thank you very much. Okay, let's try to slowly ramp up the time warp back up. It's still trying to wobble quite aggressively. Okay, I think it stabilized itself. Damn, I hate when that happens. You can kind of try to work with BID controllers, and you could try to set it up correctly, but I don't think it's just worth it. Also, let's send off all of the science, because if we die on landing, we at least want Trazen's work to not be in vain. Also, let's get that money shot in. Because when you have a pretty picture on your stream, people kind of tend to flock. Like, actually, I just noticed that when I make one of these, like, money shot, interesting, like, visual things, there are, like, suddenly a slight peak of viewers. And then when I start, like, explaining stuff or just doing some maintenance or something, they kind of leave. Which I guess makes sense. Everyone wants to see the cool picture, but unfortunately not the 100% of our mission is a cool picture. Okay, I do kind of want to keep the HUD here, unfortunately, because I just want to make sure that I'm flying towards the KSC. We do have a lot of spare fuel, but still, I want to be on the cautious side. Especially since we're going to be decreasing altitude here and probably flying less efficiently. Also, we kind of forgot about deserts. Like, at all. But probably, you know what, we could try flying a little bit western of the KSC. And if we do that, then hopefully we can get the desert science over here, like slightly west to the KSC. There should be a small desert patch over there. Hopefully we should have enough fuel. Okay, see ya, mate. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate it. Okay, yeah, so we should be kind of closing in shortly there. How much endurance do we have? We have 1.5 hours, which should be enough to collect all of the science there. At least, I sure hope so, otherwise it's gonna be quite awkward. Also, notice the Coriolis effect. I was flying basically straight towards the KC, but now I've, like, turned significantly. I mean, I know I made, like, a small turn to go slightly west, but, like, I still have to, like, constantly correct for it. It might not be as apparent on the stream, because you're just kind of watching and you might not notice me fumbling with the roll control, but, like, you can see that I leave it at 1 degree, and yet I'm not really turning right. I'm keeping the same course, because Coriolis effect is a thing. And it's annoying. Okay, we're kind of reaching the desert here. There's no point in flying this high. We're just gonna reduce the throttle, set ourselves to under 6 kilometers, set our descent rates here, and let's try to get all of the signs. Yeah, there should be like a desert over here somewhere. And we also need to collect a little bit near the shores, so it should be okay-ish. Okay, dear MechJeb, can you please not be annoying? Thank you. Okay, let's see if we can find some deserts over here, and if we can't, we might have to open up curb nets. Maybe that'll help us to find it. I mean, there should be like a patch over here, for example. Yeah, okay, these are the deserts. Okay, let's put ourselves into like a high roll, like a tight circle thing. Maybe like ramp up power a little, so we have more electricity produced. And yeah, we should be able to finish this mission fairly soon here. Okay, just gotta make a few passes over the desert. Should be able to collect the rest of our signs here. You know what we could actually try doing? We could maybe like try to descend into a thicker atmosphere, which is kind of bad for our endurance, but it's also kind of good for us to gain more electric charge per unit of time. Although we are going to be using up more fuel. I actually don't really like how much fuel we have left. It's kind of tight, a little on the tight side. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna make it. We still have like 5 minutes of research, and our fancy little cockpit thingy thingamajig says that, oh yeah, we've got 10 minutes in desert. There's no way we're gonna be able to finish that, because our endurance is like 20... it's 26 minutes. We could maybe make it. Not 100% sure. Okay, let's try. I'm gonna say that if we get to 1,000 meters per second or lower, we gonna call it and go back to the airfield, land, refuel, and there we can try to just make a small flight out, just get the rest of the signs that we need, in case we really have to do that. Yeah, no idea why the vertical stream is performing so badly today. They kind of seem to be almost random in that regard. Sometimes you have a shitload of viewers, sometimes you have literally no one. Literally no difference between the actual streams that I'm making. Okay, hopefully this is gonna be our last pass over the desert. And then we also need to get a little bit, like, over the shores. Which we can do near the KC, like, near the runway. So that we can land at any point, essentially. Okay, that is complete. That is very good. Let's go towards landing. Damn it. I constantly keep disabling roll holds, and because I'm in a time warp, it like immediately rolls the entire aircraft over, so it kind of loses control. Which is a little annoying. Actually, no, it's not a little annoying, it's really annoying, but again, it is what it is. I do kind of want to send off some of the data here, because again, there's a small chance that we might crash when we try to land, because even though I am a decent pilot, I still sometimes crash. Well, not me, Trazen, obviously. I mean, she's piloting the aircraft, kind of. Although, right now she's like literally doing absolutely nothing, and it's just MacJeb doing everything for her. So she's kind of chilling. Although she has been kind of chilling for like more than a day. At least in KSP terms. Okay, can we please fly over the shores here? How is this like not shores? Okay. Oh, right, so we have collected all of the signs here. Let me disable the autopilot. Let me enable the fancy flight controls. Let's actually close all of these windows. We don't really need them anymore. All we need is to safely land. Or at least try to. I mean, I could also try to go for like a cockpit landing. I mean, I can do that, but I also don't really want to risk it. It's like kind of not worth it in a lot of scenarios. Okay, let's get somewhere here and turn towards the strip. Hopefully losing some of our speed in the process, because we are kind of coming in a little too hot for my liking. Yeah, we're coming at about 100 meters per second, which is slightly faster than I would like. Hopefully I can lose some speed here. Okay, let's set it to cruise flight. And now I would like to like fly at about 70, 80 meters per second with a little bit of engine thrust. So I'm not gonna completely shut the engines down, just that they will be producing very little thrust. And we come in for like a nice shallow landing, cut the throttle just before we close into the runway. It's actually kind of easy to land when you have the shadow, because like kind of tells you how fast you're approaching. It also helps you to avoid bouncing too hard. I actually noticed that this aircraft can like not stall itself out up to like 30 meters per second speed, which is kind of insane. And yeah, mostly you want to try to slowing down using just aero braking and like use the actual brakes at the very end. Have you thought about adding parallax continue to the mod packs? That's a good question. What is parallax continued? I actually don't know. Let me Google that. Parallax continues. I mean, I'm not a mod guru. I might not know something. Okay, so allegedly, ta-da-da-da, reinstall. Okay. Looks interesting. I'll check it out. A rewrite and upgrade of the parallax. I'm not entirely sure, is it like better actually? But okay, if it is. I mean, there are issues with the base parallax. For example, the shadows, you can kind of see that they look a little weird. they are really weird, and so if that fixes the shadows, that would be kind of insane. Because I'm not using, for example, like some of the settings in parallax, for example, like super detailed terrain and everything, I can run in terms of like the GPU performance. I'm not running it because shadows are broken for Linux for reasons. I don't actually know why this happens. Like, I mean, I actually know why this happens. I don't know why they haven't fixed it. So, yeah, there's that. Okay, actually, we can just recover vessel here. Let's see how much science we got out of this 3-hour adventure. Well, not 3, 2.5. And then, like, the beginning was me just yapping. So I guess it was like a 2-hour mission, but still, 2 real world hours is a lot. And that was like with us time warping at like ×8, ×12 for the most flight. Okay, so we've got 37 credits from like stuff that we actually had most of these like atmosphere analysis things. The important part is that we got a lot of science from like the data that we were transmitting, and we've spent about 100 science points to research this node, but we actually got, I think, more back. We actually have enough to research like command modules, which is actually really, really nice, because I was kind of worried that I won't have enough research points to research command modules, which is something that I need, because the next vessel that I want to launch are my new generation of space taxis. It's, whoops, spoilers. These bad boys. I mean, it's a pretty, I don't even know how to, like, describe it. It just looks high-tech-ish to me. Like, it uses this, like, advanced command pod. It uses, like, these fancy hydrogen tanks. Should be kind of futuristic. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. And, yeah, these are, like, reasonably high performance. So hopefully we should be able to launch a bunch of these guys and do a bunch of orbital construction with them, partially. But I think for today, it's actually kind of completed all that we really wanted to do, which is to do a little bit of flying. So thank you everyone for joining. Oh wait, I forgot the camera. Thank you everyone for joining, and I guess if you're still here, please subscribe to Discord. Join my Discord. It's a thing. Link is in the description, and I'll see you someday later. Probably tomorrow, although I'm not entirely sure because I have a little bit of a sore throat. But we'll see. I'll post updates in Discord. Okay, let's stop from here.